The sound hit Jake like a physical force as he was led through the corridors toward the grand arena. Thousands of voices merged into a roar that seemed to shake the walls of Nexus Prime. The noise grew louder with each step until it became a constant thunder that made his bones vibrate. 2 Valkyrie guards walked beside him, their weapons ready but not pointed at him. They were not worried about Jake escaping. Where could a wounded human go on an alien space station surrounded by hostile territory? Besides, in a few minutes he would be dead, and the problem would solve itself. Nervous human? One of the guards asked in broken English. His voice carried the same arrogance that all Valdari seemed to possess. Should I be? Jake replied, testing the hidden knife in his boot. It was still there, pressed against his ankle where the guards had not thought to look. The guard laughed. Crocs has killed 47 opponents. You will be number 48. At least your death will be quick. Maybe, Jake said. Or maybe today will be different. The corridor opened into a preparation chamber just outside the arena. Through a small window, Jake could see the combat space for the first time. It was exactly as Kira had described, but seeing it in person was different. The arena was a perfect circle 100 feet across, surrounded by seats that rose up like the inside of a bow. Every seat was filled with aliens from dozens of different species, all here to watch the human die. The floor was made of metal grating with a crosshatch pattern that would provide good footing. Scattered throughout the space were raised platforms. At different heights, support pillars, and weapon racks mounted on the walls. Jake studied the layout carefully, comparing it to the mental map he had built from Kira's descriptions. Impressive, is it not? A familiar voice said behind him. Jake turned to see High Lord Zethric entering the preparation chamber. The alien noble was dressed in elaborate robes that seemed to shimmer with their own light. Behind him walked Lady Vexara, a tall female Valdari with silver markings on her blue skin. Kira followed them, her head down and her hands folded in front of her. The grand arena is one of the wonders of our empire, Zethric continued. It has seen the deaths of thousands of warriors over the centuries. Today, it will see the death of human ambition in this sector. We shall see, Jake said, not taking his eyes off Kira. She looked up briefly, and he saw fear and hope warring in her dark eyes. Lady Vexara stepped forward, studying Jake like a scientist examining an interesting specimen. So this is the human who thinks he can defeat Crocs. You are smaller than I expected. And those injuries, you can barely stand. Appearances can be deceiving, Jake said. Not in the arena, Lady Vexara replied. In the arena, strength and skill are all that matter. You have neither. Speaking of the arena, Zethric said, perhaps you would like to meet your opponent. A door on the far side of the chamber opened, and Crocs the Destroyer entered. Jake had seen him in the recordings, but nothing had prepared him for the reality of the alien warrior. Crocs stood 8 feet tall, with dark red skin that looked like armor plating. His arms were as thick as tree trunks, and his hands ended in claws that could probably tear through metal. His face was brutal and scarred, with small yellow eyes that held no mercy. Crocs looked at Jake and snorted with amusement. This is my opponent? This broken little creature? I have fought children who were more threatening. Do not underestimate him, Zethric said with false concern. He is human after all. They can be surprisingly stubborn when cornered. Stubborn or not, he will die like all the rest, Croc said. His voice was like gravel being crushed. I will. Make it quick, as a mercy. Jake studied his opponent carefully. Crocs moved with the confidence of someone who had never faced a real challenge. His posture was relaxed, almost casual. He was not taking this fight seriously, which was exactly what Jake had hoped for. Any last words, human? Zethric asked. Jake looked directly at Kira. I believe that every being deserves to be free. No matter what happens today, I hope that message survives. Kira's eyes widened slightly, and Jake saw her understand what he was really saying. Whatever happened in the arena, You will keep fighting for her freedom and the freedom of all enslaved beings. The preparation time was over. Jake was led to one entrance of the arena while Crocs went to another. As Jake waited for the doors to open, he went over his plan one final time. It was crazy and dangerous, but it was the only chance he had. The announcer's voice boomed across the arena, speaking in the Valdari language. Jake could not understand the words, but the crowd's reaction told him everything he needed to know. They were excited for blood, and they expected to see his. Then the announcer switched to English, clearly for the benefit of any humans who might be watching the broadcast. Citizens of the sector, welcome to the Grand Arena. Today we witness single combat between Crocs the Destroyer, champion of the Valdari Empire, and the human Jake Morrison, who has dared to challenge our superiority. The crowd roared its approval. Jake could see aliens of every description in the seats, all of them cheering for his death. Some held up signs with writing he could not read, but the meaning was clear. They wanted to see the human crushed. The rules are simple, the announcer continued. Combat continues until one fighter is dead. Weapons are available throughout the arena, but victory belongs to the strong. The doors opened. Jake stepped into the arena, and the noise was deafening. Thousands of aliens screamed insults and threats at him in dozens of languages. Some threw objects that bounced harmlessly off the energy shields protecting the combat area. The hatred was like a living thing, washing over him in waves. Across the arena, Crocs emerged from his entrance like a force of nature. The crowds. Screams turned to cheers as they saw their champion. Crocs raised his arms above his head and roared, a sound that somehow carried over all the other noise. His confidence was absolute. Jake walked slowly toward the center of the arena, testing his footing on the metal grating. It felt solid under his feet, but he remembered what he had learned about Crocs' weight and the potential weak points in the structure. Everything depended on getting the timing exactly right. Look at him, the announcer shouted. The human can barely walk. This will be over in seconds. Jake reached the center of the arena and stopped. Crocs was still showing off for the crowd, flexing his massive muscles and displaying his natural armor. The alien warrior was enjoying the attention. Taking his time before the slaughter began, Jake used those precious seconds to locate the weapon racks and plan his route through the arena. He spotted the platforms he would need to reach, the support pillars that would provide cover, and the specific section of grating where he hoped to spring his trap. Finally, Crocs finished his display and began walking toward Jake. Each step was deliberate and intimidating, designed to terrify his opponent into making mistakes. His yellow eyes never left Jake's face, looking for signs of fear. Ready to die, little human? Crocs called out as he approached. Ready to fight, Jake replied. The crowd sensed that the combat was about to begin. The noise level somehow increased even more, becoming a wall of sound that seemed to press against Jake from all sides. He could feel the bloodlust of thousands of aliens focused on him like a physical weight. Crocs stopped about 20 feet away and cracked his knuckles. The sound was like breaking bones. I will give you the first attack, he said with contempt. It would not be sporting otherwise. Jake looked around the arena one more time, memorizing the position of every obstacle and weapon rack. In the crowd, he spotted Kira sitting beside Lady Vexara. She was watching him with an expression of desperate hope. This was it. Everything he had planned for, everything he had hoped for, came down to the next few minutes. Jake took a deep breath, ignored the pain in his ribs, and began to move. The fight for humanity's future was about to begin. Jake woke before dawn, his body still aching but noticeably better than the day before. Kira's medicine had worked wonders, though he was still far from healthy. He had perhaps 40% of his normal strength, and his left arm remained mostly useless. Still, it was better than he had dared to hope. The medical bay was empty except for the soft humming of alien machines. Jake used the quiet time to test his body's limits. He walked slowly around the room, stretching his muscles and trying to regain his balance. Every movement was painful, but he pushed through it. Pain was just another enemy to overcome. 2 hours. Later, Dr. Vexel returned for another examination. The alien seemed surprised by Jake's improved condition, but said nothing about it. He simply made notes on his device and left without speaking. Jake spent the morning thinking about strategy. In a straight fight, Crocs would destroy him in seconds. But humans had not conquered half the galaxy through brute strength alone. They had done it through intelligence, adaptability, and the ability to find solutions where others saw only problems. The door opened, and Jake expected to see Kira. Instead, a massive Valdari guard entered, followed by High Lord Zethric. The alien noble looked pleased with himself, his sharp teeth visible in what might have been a smile. "Good morning, human," Zethric said. "I trust you slept well. It may be your last peaceful night." "I have had better," Jake replied, not backing down from the alien's intimidating presence. "I have come to discuss the rules of combat," Zethric said. "The fight will take place in exactly 6 hours. You will face Crocs the Destroyer in single combat until one of you is dead. There are no other rules. What about weapons? Basic weapons will be available in the arena. Energy pistols, plasma rifles, vibroblades, and various melee weapons. Of course, most of them will be useless against Crocs' natural armor." Jake nodded. "And if I win?"Zethric's laugh was like breaking glass. "If you win, which you will not, humanity gains full trading rights and protection in this sector. Your ships will be safe from Valdari interference. But this will not happen, because you will be dead within the first minute of combat." "You seem very confident." "I am confident because I have seen Crocs fight 47 times. He has never even been wounded. You, on the other hand, are a broken human who can barely stand." After Zethric left, Jake continued his preparations. He did exercises to improve his balance and flexibility, working around his injuries as best he could. He was not trying to become strong enough to overpower Crocs. That was impossible. Instead, he was trying to become fast enough and smart enough. To survive long enough to find an opportunity. In the afternoon, Kira returned. She looked nervous and kept glancing at the door as if expecting someone to burst in at any moment. "I should not be here," she said. "Lady Vexara has been asking questions about where I go at night. If she discovers I have been helping you, then do not take the risk," Jake said. "You have done enough already." "No," she said firmly. "I have brought you something that might help." She reached into her robes and pulled out a small device that looked like a combination of a tablet and a crystal. "This contains recordings of all of Crocs' previous fights. I stole it from the arena's archives." Jake took the device carefully. The screen showed a list of fights going back several years. "How did you get this?" "My empathic abilities make me useful for many things. Sometimes I am sent to different parts of the station to read the emotions of workers or guards. The archive keeper was lonely and wanted someone to talk to. I used his feelings to convince him to let me access the recordings." Jake activated the device and began watching the first fight. Crocs entered the arena like a walking mountain, his dark red skin gleaming under the lights. His opponent was a tall, thin alien with 4 arms and advanced energy weapons. The fight lasted exactly 17 seconds. Crocs moved with surprising speed for his size, closing the distance between himself and his opponent in 3 quick steps. The alien's energy weapon struck Crocs' skin and simply bounced off, leaving no marks. Crocs grabbed the alien with both hands and crushed him like a piece of paper. "He is even more dangerous than I thought," Jake said. "Watch the next few fights," Kira said. "Look for patterns in how he moves and attacks." Jake studied fight after fight. Crocs' strategy never changed. He would enter the arena, allow his opponent to attack him to demonstrate the uselessness of their weapons, then close in for the kill. He never used weapons himself, preferring to kill with his bare hands. His confidence was absolute, but as Jake watched more carefully, he began to notice small details. Crocs always moved in straight lines, never bothering to dodge or use complex footwork. His attacks were powerful but predictable. He had never faced an opponent who could truly challenge him, so he had never learned to adapt or change his tactics. He fights like someone who has never really been in danger, Jake said. What do you mean? Look at his movements. He does not dodge or block because he does not need to. His skin protects him from most attacks, and his strength lets him overpower any opponent. But that means he has never learned to deal with unexpected situations. Kira watched as Jake studied the recordings more intently. Do you see something that can help you? Maybe, Jake said. In every fight, he does the same thing. He lets his opponent attack first, then moves in a straight line to crush them. But what if someone did not attack him directly? What if they made him come to them on their terms? The arena is not very large, Kira said. There is nowhere to run. I am not thinking about running. I am thinking about using the arena itself as a weapon. Jake had Kira describe the arena's layout in detail. It was a circular space about 100 feet across, with metal grating for a floor and various obstacles scattered throughout. There were raised platforms at different levels, support pillars, and weapon racks mounted on the walls. Tell me about the grating, Jake said. How thick is it? What supports it? I do not know exactly. Why does it matter? It matters because Crocs weighs at least 400 pounds. If the grating is not designed to support that much weight in one spot, it might be possible to create a weak point. Kira looked confused. I do not understand. Jake smiled for the first time since his capture. You do not need to understand. But I think I might have found a way to turn Crocs' greatest strength into his greatest weakness. They spent the next hour going over every detail of the arena that Kira could remember. Jake asked about the height of the platforms, the spacing of the support pillars, and the placement of the weapon racks. He was building a mental map of the combat space, looking for every possible advantage. There is something else, Kira said hesitantly. Something I have never told anyone. What? The spot I mentioned yesterday, at the base of Crocs' skull. It is not just thinner skin. It is where his nervous system connects to his brain. If you could strike it with enough force, it would paralyze him instantly. Jake stared at her. How do you know this? My empathic abilities let me sense the flow of emotions and thoughts. In all living beings, there are places where those flows are concentrated. In Crocs, that spot is like a bright light in my mind, but it is still almost impossible to reach. Almost impossible is not the same as impossible, Jake said as the time for combat approached. Jake felt a strange calm settling over him. He had a plan now, desperate and dangerous, but a plan nonetheless. It would require perfect timing, incredible luck, and more courage than he had ever shown in his life. But it was better than simply walking into the arena to die. I have one. More thing for you, Kira said. She reached into her robes and pulled out a small metal object that looked like a curved blade. This is a ceremonial knife for my people. It is made from a metal that can cut through almost anything. The blade is only 4 inches long, but it is incredibly sharp. Jake took the knife and tested its weight. It was perfectly balanced and felt comfortable in his hand. This could be useful. Hide it well, Kira warned. If the Valdari find it, they will know I helped you. I will be careful. Kira stood to leave, but Jake caught her hand. Whatever happens in the arena, I want you to know that you have given me hope, not just for winning, but for the future. You have shown me that there are good people in the universe worth fighting for. She squeezed his hand gently. And you have shown me that freedom is not just a dream. Win or lose, you have already changed my life. After she left, Jake hid the knife in his boot and spent the remaining time preparing mentally for the fight. Ahead, he went over his plan again and again, looking for flaws and weaknesses. It was risky and required everything to go perfectly, but it was the only chance he had in 2 hours. He would face Crocs the Destroyer in front of thousands of bloodthirsty spectators. The odds were 1,000 to 1 against him, and failure would mean the end of human expansion in this sector of space dock. But Jake Morrison was no ordinary human. He was a fighter, a survivor, and a man who had nothing left to lose. In the arena, he would prove that humanity's greatest strength was not in their weapons or their technology, but in their refusal to surrender even when defeat seemed certain. The medical bay of Nexus Prime smelled like burned metal and alien antiseptic. Jake Morrison lay on the hard medical table, his breathing shallow and painful. His left arm hung in a strange contraption that looked more like a torture device than medical equipment. Dark bruises covered his chest, and every breath felt like fire in his lungs. 3 days ago, Jake had been the commander of the human cargo ship Starlight. Now his ship was nothing but twisted metal floating in space, and he was a prisoner on this massive alien space station. The Valdari Empire claimed his ship had attacked their patrol vessels first. Jake knew it was a lie, but no one would listen. To a human dot, the door to the medical bay slid open with a soft hiss. High Lord Zethric entered, his tall blue form moving with the arrogance of someone who had never been challenged. Behind him walked 2 guards and a small figure in a flowing white robe. The robed figure kept her head down, but Jake could see she was not Valdari. Her skin was pale silver, and her movements were too graceful to be human. "The human still lives," Zethric said in his deep voice. He spoke in perfect English, though his accent made each word sound like a threat. "I am almost disappointed. I was hoping you would die quietly and save us all some trouble." Jake tried to sit up, but the pain in his ribs made him gasp. "What do you want?" Zethric smiled, showing teeth that were too sharp. "I want to discuss your future. Or rather, the lack of one. Your species has become a problem for the Valdari Empire. You humans spread through space like a disease, taking planets and resources that belong to more advanced races. We have just as much right to be here as you do," Jake said through gritted teeth. "Rights?" Zethric laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Rights are for civilized species. You are nothing but primitive apes who learn to fly between stars. Your technology is stolen, your culture is barbaric, and your very existence is an insult to the natural order." Jake forced himself to sit up, ignoring the pain. "If we are so primitive, why are you afraid of us?" The question hit its mark. Zethric's smile faded, and his eyes narrowed. "Afraid? Of you? I think your injuries have damaged your mind as well as your body." "Then prove it," Jake said. "If humans are so weak and primitive, face me in single combat. If you win, I will publicly admit that humans are inferior and should leave this sector of space. If I win, you give us safe passage and trading rights." The room fell silent. Even the guards looked shocked. The figure in the white robe raised her head slightly, and Jake caught a glimpse of large, dark eyes that seemed to hold both intelligence and sadness. Zethric stared at Jake for a long moment, then threw back his head and laughed. "You challenge me, a broken human who can barely stand? This is either the greatest joke I have ever heard, or you are completely insane." "I am serious," Jake said. "Unless you are too afraid to fight a wounded human." The insult worked perfectly. Zethric's face turned a darker shade of blue, and his hands clenched into fists. "Very well, human. I accept your challenge. But let us make this more interesting. If you lose, and you will lose, humanity will be banned from this entire sector. Any human ship that enters Valdari space will be destroyed on sight." Jake felt his heart skip a beat. The stakes had just become enormous. If he lost, it would not just be his life, but the future of human expansion in this part of the galaxy. Still, he nodded, agreed. Zethric turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and human, the combat will be public. The entire sector will watch you die. It will be a lesson to any other species who think they can challenge the Valdari Empire." After Zethric left, the figure in the white robe remained. She moved closer to Jake's bed, her steps silent on the metal floor. When she spoke, her voice was soft and musical, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "You should not have done that," she said. "Lord Zethric is a skilled warrior, and you are badly injured. You will die." Jake looked at her more carefully. She was beautiful in an alien way, with silver skin that seemed to glow softly in the medical bay's lights. Her eyes were larger than a human's, dark purple and full of ancient wisdom. Her hair was white as snow and fell to her shoulders like liquid. "Silk, who are you?" he asked. "I am Kira," she said, glancing toward the door nervously. "I serve Lady Vexara, Lord Zethric's rival. I should not be speaking to you, but I wanted to warn you. The combat is in 3 days. Lord Zethric will choose his champion, and that champion will be Crocs the Destroyer." Jake had heard of Crocs. The Valdari warrior was famous throughout the sector for his skill in combat. He had never been defeated, and it was said that his natural armor could stop energy. "Weapons. Why are you telling me this?" Jake asked. Kira hesitated, then said, "Because I have seen what happens when Lord Zethric's enemies lose. Death would be a mercy compared to what he will do to your people." Over the next hour, Kira explained how the combat would work. It would take place in the Grand Arena, a massive space in the center of Nexus Prime, where the Valdari held their most important events. The fight would be broadcast to every world in the sector, ensuring that Jake's defeat would be seen by billions. "The betting has already begun," Kira said quietly. "The nobles are wagering vast fortunes on the outcome. The odds are 1,000 to 1 against you." "What are they betting?" Jake asked. "Ships, territory, slaves, anything of value. Lady Vexara has even wagered me as her prize servant. If you somehow win, which you will not, I will become your property." Jake felt sick. The idea of owning another being was repugnant to him. "I would never accept such a thing." Kira looked at him with surprise. "You would refuse a valuable slave?" "No Valdari would ever do such a thing." "I am not Valdari," Jake said. "Where I come from, we believe all beings should be free to choose their own path." For a moment, something like hope flickered in Kira's eyes, but it quickly faded. "It does not matter. You will not survive the combat. Crocs has killed 47 opponents in the arena. His skin is like armor, and his strength is 10 times that of a human. Even if you were healthy, you would have no chance." Jake nodded, understanding the hopelessness of his situation. Still, he had made his choice. "Then I will die fighting. At least other humans will know that we do not surrender easily." Kira stared at him for a long moment, then did something unexpected. She reached out and gently touched his wounded arm. Her touch was warm, and Jake felt a strange tingling sensation, as if energy was flowing from her fingers into his body. "What are you doing?" he asked. "I have certain abilities," she said, not meeting his eyes. "The Valdari value me for my empathic gifts. I can sense emotions, and sometimes I can ease pain. It is not much, but it might help you sleep." The pain in Jake's arm began to fade, and for the first time in days, he felt like he could breathe without agony. "Thank you," he said. Kira pulled her hand away quickly. "I must go. Lady Vexar will be looking for me. Try to rest. You will need your strength for what is coming." As she turned to leave, Jake called out, "Kira, what do you think will happen to you if I lose?" She paused at the door, her back still turned to him. "I will continue to serve as I have always done. It is the only life I have ever known. And if I win?" "You will not win," she said sadly. "But if you did, I suppose I would serve a new master. Perhaps a human master would be kinder than a Valdari one." After she left, Jake lay back on the medical table and stared at the ceiling. The situation was impossible. He was injured alone and facing an opponent who had never been defeated. The stakes could not be higher, and failure would doom humanity's future in this sector of space. But as he closed his eyes, Jake felt something he had not felt since his ship was destroyed 3 days ago. He felt hope, not because he thought he could win, but because he had met someone who had shown him kindness in this cold alien place. Someone who deserved better than a life of servitude. Tomorrow, he would begin preparing for the fight of his life. Tonight, he would rest and dream of freedom, both for himself and for a silver-skinned alien who had touched his arm and eased his pain with nothing but compassion. Dr. Lisa Parker stared at the alien device on her laboratory table. It was no bigger than a smartphone, but according to her instruments, it contained more computing power than every computer on Earth combined. The device had been recovered from a crashed alien fighter, and it held secrets that could change everything. "I think this is their central database," she told her research team. "If we can access it, we might learn everything about their technology, their tactics, even their weaknesses." Her assistant, Dan Miller, looked skeptical. "How do we interface with alien technology?" "We don't even know what language they use." Lisa smiled. "That's where our captured pilot comes in." 3 days earlier, Laura Martinez had shot down an alien fighter using a modified human aircraft. The pilot had survived the crash and was now being held at a secure facility. Unlike the previous prisoners who had been ground soldiers, this alien was an officer with access to classified information. Subcommander Krelvok stared at the reports flooding his command center. In the past week, human forces had achieved what should have been impossible. They had shot down 12 alien fighters, captured 3 intact ships, and successfully reverse-engineered alien shield technology. "How are they learning so fast?" he asked his tactical officer. "Unknown, sir. But intelligence suggests they are interrogating our captured personnel. They may have access to classified information." Krelvok felt a growing sense of dread. The humans were not just fighting back anymore. They were learning alien technology faster than the aliens could develop countermeasures. Every battle was teaching them new ways to exploit Zephyrian weaknesses. The breakthrough came when Dr. Lisa Parker's team successfully accessed the alien database. The information they found was both enlightening and terrifying. The Zephyrians had detailed files on hundreds of worlds, including complete tactical assessments of every species they had encountered. "Look at this," Lisa said, pointing to the display screen. "They've been doing this for centuries, finding worlds with developing species and using them as training grounds." Dan read over the data files. According to this, they run exercises on 47 different worlds. And in every case, the native species was completely defeated within days. "Every case except one," Lisa corrected, highlighting a specific entry. "There's a world listed here called Kepler 442b. The exercise was terminated early due to unexpected resistance patterns. The implications were staggering. Humanity was not the first species to fight back effectively against Zephyrian training exercises. But according to the files, they were the most successful. Jake Morrison received the intelligence briefing while planning the next phase of resistance operations. His team had grown from 3 people to over 300, incorporating military personnel, civilian volunteers, and international operators from around the world. "If they've done this before, then they have standard procedures," he told his planning staff. Standard procedures can be predicted and countered. Bobby Chun, now leading the military liaison team, agreed. "Their tactics follow patterns. They escalate in specific stages. If we know what's coming next, we can prepare for it." The captured alien files revealed the Zephyrian training protocol in detail. First, they would use non-lethal suppression weapons to test basic resistance, then intermediate weapons to evaluate adaptive capabilities. Finally, if the exercise became too difficult, they would deploy their full military forces to restore control. "We're currently in Stage 2, Amy Wells reported from her communication station. "But the files show that Stage 3 authorization requires approval from the High Council." Jake studied the tactical data. "How long does that approval usually take?" "According to historical records, between 72 and 96 hours. Jake looked at his watch. The aliens had escalated to intermediate weapons 60 hours ago. That gave humanity less than 2 days before facing the full might of an advanced alien military. Then we need to end this before they can escalate. He decided the plan that emerged was audacious beyond imagination. Instead of waiting for the aliens to bring reinforcements, humanity would strike first at the source. Using captured alien technology and reverse-engineered ships, human forces would attack the Zephyrian fleet directly. Admiral Jack Foster had been preparing for exactly this moment. His experimental railgun destroyers had been modified with alien shield generators. His pilots had been training on captured alien fighters. His entire fleet was now a hybrid of human and alien technology. This is either going to be the greatest victory in human history, he told his staff, or the greatest disaster. General Maria Santos was equally prepared. Her air force had been completely transformed by alien technology. Human pilots flying. Alien fighters with human weapon systems. It was a combination that neither side had ever faced before, but the most important part of the plan involved something the aliens had never expected. Dr. Lisa Parker had discovered that Zephyrian Command. Ships were controlled by a central AI system that coordinated all fleet operations. If that system could be disabled, the entire alien fleet would be paralyzed. The AI is incredibly sophisticated, she explained to the military leaders, but it's also incredibly trusting. It assumes that any ship with proper Zephyrian identification. Codes is friendly. Sam Davis had been working on a solution. We can modify one of the captured ships to carry a computer virus. The AI will accept data from the ship automatically, and the virus will spread through their entire network. The virus was based on human computer programming principles that were completely foreign to alien systems. Where Zephyrian software was elegant and efficient, human malware was chaotic and unpredictable. The AI would have no defense against it. Laura Martinez would pilot the virus ship. She had become the most experienced human pilot of alien technology, and she understood their systems better than anyone else. The mission was essentially a suicide run, but she volunteered without hesitation. I've been flying for 15 years, she told Admiral Foster. This is what I trained for. The attack began at dawn on the 7th day of the conflict. Human ships, both converted alien vessels and modified Earth technology, launched from bases around the world. The largest space battle in human history was about to begin. Commander Krelvok watched the approaching human fleet with a mixture of admiration and terror. The humans had somehow assembled a space navy in less than a week using captured and reverse-engineered technology. It should have been impossible. Sir, we're detecting 47 human vessels approaching from multiple vectors, his sensor operator reported. 47? Krelvok could not hide his surprise. How did they build so many ships so quickly? Unknown, sir. But energy signatures suggest they are using our own technology against us. The battle was unlike anything either side had ever experienced. Human ships fought with the desperate creativity of a species fighting for survival. Alien ships fought with the discipline, tactics of a military academy. But creativity proved more effective than discipline. Captain Eric Johnson commanded the lead human squadron, flying a modified alien cruiser with human weapon systems. His ship could outmaneuver Zephyrian vessels while delivering firepower they were not designed to withstand. Target their shield generators, he ordered his gunners. Human weapons, alien targeting systems, give them everything we've got. The hybrid weapons performed beyond all expectations. Alien shields that had been impenetrable to human technology crumbled under the assault of alien-enhanced projectiles. Zephyrian ships that had seemed invincible began taking critical damage, but the real turning point came when Laura Martinez reached the alien command ship. Her fighter appeared to be a standard Zephyrian vessel, and the AI welcomed it into the fleet formation without suspicion. This is Martinez, she radioed to Earth. I'm inside their perimeter. Beginning data upload. The virus spread through the alien network like wildfire. Command systems began failing throughout the fleet. Ships lost coordination with each other. Weapon systems went offline. The elegant Zephyrian technology that had seemed so superior began turning against itself. Commander Vextel watched his fleet disintegrate around him. Ship after ship reported critical system failures. The humans had somehow introduced a form of digital warfare that his people had never encountered. "Sir, all command functions are failing," his communication officer reported. "The humans have infected our central AI." Vextel felt the weight of catastrophic failure settling on his shoulders. In 7 days, a species he had dismissed as primitive practice opponents had captured his technology, learned his tactics, and turned his own weapons against him. But the humans were not finished. As the alien fleet struggled with system failures, human forces pressed their advantage. Ships that had been learning alien technology for days now used that knowledge to devastating effect. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, half the Zephyrian training fleet was destroyed or captured. The remainder limped away from Earth, their crews traumatized by an enemy they had never been trained to fight. On Earth, celebrations erupted in cities around the world. Humanity had achieved the impossible. They had defeated an advanced alien civilization using nothing but courage, creativity, and captured technology. Commander Vextel received the emergency transmission from Krelvok's damaged ship with growing alarm. A Zephyrian command vessel had been severely damaged by primitive human weapons. This was not supposed to be possible. "Status report," Vextel demanded as Krelvok's battered ship limped back to the fleet. "Sir, the humans coordinated a massive missile strike. Over 60 projectiles launched simultaneously. Our shields could not handle the combined impact." Vextel studied the damage. Reports: hull breaches, destroyed communication systems, offline weapons. One of their most advanced ships had been crippled by what amounted to metal tubes filled with explosives. "How many casualties?" he asked. 12 dead, 37 wounded. "The humans are not fighting like the simulations predicted, sir. They ignore conventional tactics completely." Vextel made a decision that would change everything. Authorization granted for intermediate-level weapons. Deploy energy cannons and gravity disruptors. End this exercise quickly. Back on Earth, the successful attack on the alien command ship had energized human resistance forces worldwide. The impossible had happened. Humanity had drawn first blood against an advanced alien civilization. Jake Morrison watched the smoking alien ship retreat through his binoculars. Around him, his team was celebrating, but Jake felt uneasy. He had been a soldier long enough to know that winning the first battle often meant the real war was just beginning. "Amy, what are you picking? Up on alien communications?" he asked. Amy Wells adjusted her radio equipment, frowning at the readings. "Something's changed, Jake. The signal patterns are different. More complex. I think they're bringing in bigger weapons." Jake's instincts proved correct. Within hours, new alien ships began arriving. These were larger than the training vessels, with different hull configurations and energy signatures. Dr. Lisa Parker detected the change immediately from her monitoring station at MIT. "The energy readings are off the charts," she reported to the Emergency Science Committee. "These new ships are generating power levels 10 times higher than the previous ones." The first demonstration of the aliens' Escalade response came at dawn over Chicago. A new type of alien ship appeared above the city, its hull bristling with unfamiliar weapons. A beam of coherent energy lanced down from the ship, striking an abandoned warehouse. The building did not explode. It simply ceased to exist. One moment, it was there. The next moment, there was only empty space where it had stood. General Patricia Hayes watched the footage from the Pentagon's war room. The implications were terrifying. If the aliens could do that to a building, they could do it to anything. "Get me Admiral Jack Foster," she ordered. Admiral Foster had been waiting for this call. For years, the Navy had been developing experimental weapons in secret. Railguns that could fire projectiles at incredible speeds. Plasma cannons that existed only in prototype form. If the aliens were escalating, humanity would escalate too. "Patricia, I've got something that might help," Foster said when the call connected. But it's completely untested in combat. What is it? Railgun destroyers. We've got 3 ships equipped with electromagnetic cannons. They can fire projectiles at nearly the speed of light. General Maria Santos of the Air Force had similar. News. We've been working on plasma-based weapons. They're experimental, but they might be able to penetrate alien shields. Within hours, the most classified military projects in human history were being deployed. Weapons that had existed only in laboratories were rushed into service. The alien escalation had triggered humanity's own technological leap forward. The first test came when alien ground forces landed at Edwards Air Force Base. But this time, they were not using non-lethal suppression weapons. The new alien soldiers carried weapons that could disintegrate matter at the molecular level. Colonel Steve Martins watched from his underground command center as the aliens advanced across the base. Their new weapons cut through concrete walls like they were made of paper. Human defensive positions that had withstood the first attacks were eliminated in seconds. Fall back to secondary positions, Martinez ordered. But even as he spoke, he knew that conventional defenses would not work against these new weapons. The aliens reached the main hangar and began to advance toward the underground bunkers. But as they approached, something unexpected happened. The ground beneath their feet began to glow. Dr. Lisa Parker's team had been working on their own escalation. Using the alien technology they had captured, they had developed electromagnetic pulse weapons that could be buried underground. When the aliens walked over them, the devices activated. The alien soldiers' weapons simply stopped working. Their armor lost power. Their communication systems failed. For a moment, they were just tall, thin beings standing in the middle of an Air Force base, confused and vulnerable. That moment was all the human defenders needed. Bobby Chun led a squad of Marines out of their hidden positions, armed with conventional weapons that were unaffected by the electromagnetic pulse. The aliens, trained to rely on their advanced technology, had no idea how to fight without it. Take them alive if possible, Bobby ordered. We need to learn about their technology. The capture of alien soldiers provided humanity with its first real intelligence about their enemies. Under interrogation conducted by CIA analyst Kate Thompson, the prisoners revealed crucial information. They call this a practice world, Kate reported to her superiors. Their word translates roughly to training ground or exercise area. We're not facing an invasion. We're facing their military academy. The revelation changed everything. If these were student soldiers, then humanity was not just fighting an advanced civilization. They were fighting that civilization's trainees, who were now calling for help from their instructors. Jake Morrison's team had captured alien equipment during the latest battle, and mechanical engineer Sam Davis was studying it with growing excitement. The alien weapons were incredibly advanced, but they were also designed according to principles that humans could understand. Look at this, Sam said, showing Jake a disassembled alien rifle. The power source is based on controlled fusion. The targeting system uses quantum computers. But the basic design is just an advanced version of weapons we already have. Can we copy it? Jake asked. Better than that? I think we can improve it. Their weapons are designed to fight other energy-based weapons. But we can modify them to work with our kinetic-based tactics. Sam's breakthrough came when he realized that alien weapons could be modified to fire conventional projectiles at incredible speeds. By combining human ammunition with alien propulsion systems, he created hybrid weapons that were more effective than either technology alone. The first test of Sam's hybrid weapons came during the battle for Los Angeles. Navy Captain Eric Johnson led a strike force equipped with the new weapons against an alien command post. The results exceeded all expectations. The hybrid weapons could penetrate alien shields that had previously been impenetrable. The projectiles moved so fast that alien defensive systems could not track them. Within minutes, the alien command post was destroyed, and its defenders were dead or captured. But the aliens were learning too. Subcommander Krelvok, now commanding from a replacement ship, studied the human attacks with growing respect. These beings were not just adapting to alien technology. They were improving it. "Send a message to command," he told his communications officer. "Request immediate reinforcement by full military units. The training exercise has become a real war." The response came back quickly. Negative. Academy protocol requires that cadets complete their exercises without direct intervention. Adapt and overcome. Krelvok stared at the message in disbelief. His superiors still thought this was a training exercise. They did not understand that the practice opponents had become a genuine threat. On Earth, the captured alien equipment was being reverse engineered at facilities around the world. British SAS veteran Simon Wright was working with Israeli Special Forces Commander Ruth Cohen to develop new tactics using alien technology. Japanese researchers, led by Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, were creating countermeasures to alien weapons, but the biggest breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Laura Martinez, a former Air Force pilot, had been studying captured alien aircraft. She discovered that the ship's control systems were based on neural interfaces that humans could actually use. The aliens designed their ships to be controlled by thought, she explained to Admiral Foster. But human brains are similar enough to theirs that we can operate their technology. The implications were staggering. Not only could humans use alien weapons, they could fly alien ships. Within days, human pilots were training on captured alien fighters, learning to use technology that was centuries ahead of anything Earth had produced. The first human-piloted alien fighter took off from a secret base in Nevada. Laura Martinez was at the controls, her mind linked directly to the ship's systems. The sensation was unlike anything she had ever experienced. The ship responded to her thoughts as if it were an extension of her own body. "This is incredible!" She radioed to ground control. "It's like the ship is reading my mind." The test flight was a complete success. Humans could not only operate alien technology, they could operate it better than the aliens themselves.